All right, all right. Said some live, so I'm waiting to see the other computer see. Give me a mic check. Audience, if you hear my voice, give me a mic check. Mic check. Give me a mic check. Mic. Okay, there we go. There we go. Sound is good. Sound is good. What's up, everybody? Good evening. Good evening. How y'all doing? Thank you for everybody for joining us. Y'all know how we do it. We just gonna get right into it. This is the Chris Thorns show on YouTube. And y'all know how we do it. Let's do the introduction. Let's go. All right, what's going on, everybody? As always, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever you're watching this content, as always, like, comment, subscribe, and share. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the man, the myth, the legendary Judge John Brown on the Chris Thorns show once again. Brother Brown, how you doing this evening?
All right, good. It's good.
Okay, I had to turn you up a little bit.
It's good.
All right, gotcha. Somebody say they don't see the live. Okay. So Judge, I'm not gonna keep you long. I just want to bring you back on the show because we got a lot of things that's been going on in society as of late, and as always, I would like to give your opinion on some things that's been going on. First thing I want to bring to your attention is last time we talked about Kim Kardashian briefly about when she went to go talk to Trump about pardoning the lady down here in Memphis, and she was known for
Johnson.
Yeah, and somebody and somebody has sent me a post saying that I guess she's going to meet with him again to release another convicted felon for a long-term sentence. And they were saying that I can't throw no shade at her because they feel like she was doing a good thing. And I was just saying, no, you may not want to say that no time fast, because the person who she let out down here in Memphis, a lot of people felt like that wasn't a good call. So I was wondering.
A lot of people want to kill her. A lot of people, frankly, trying to find us so they can kill her. They over her once. All of the crack babies that we had in Memphis for about 5 years, crack kids running around, she territory she was supplied it. She's responsible because
okay, Judge, your phone going in and out. Your phone going in and out. It's real low.
Well, let's see. Maybe I can turn up the volume here a bit. What I'm saying is there were a lot of cases, first-degree murder hits. Mm-hmm. She was behind them, but we couldn't prosecute her because of the peculiarities of American law.
Right.
There were a lot of crack babies in the area that she supplied the goodies that got them that way. Crackheads wandering around, she supplied the dope. She was working for the Mexican cartels versus the Colombian cartels versus the Mexican cartels.
Mm-hmm.
So when they busted her, see, what Kim got her pardon for was 6,600 pounds of 95% pure coke. That was that little bag of poor little grandmother trying to make bills meet. She's been a long-term crook. She should have been in there. Her co-defendants got between 10 years and life. So she got out. She was the ringleader. There were quite a few people that went into the Federal Witness Protection Program or copped out to 10 years as a deal. And she walks.
Wow.
And, you know, see, there's this thing like, okay, she didn't do anything except sold something, you know, a victimless crime. When you're talking about that much coke, you're talking about a whole lot of people got wiped out, a whole lot of babies are screwed up for the rest of their lives, and a whole lot of families are ruined.
Yes.
That isn't a victimless crime. And when you're talking about 6,600 pounds of 95% pure, you're talking somewhere around 18 to 20,000 pounds when it gets street cut. If you trash cut the stuff, you're talking about 25,000 pounds of dope. That's what she was doing lightweight. So, you know, it doesn't get any major than that. This person was the drug queen from New Orleans all the way up to Louisville to Chicago to Atlanta and the Memphis area and all of Arkansas. So, yeah, harmless. She needs to take her little wide behind self and go play amateur hall or whatever the devil she does.
and yeah, you know, that was amazing because I saw you was going back and forth with a guy about that on Twitter, and I guess he got up in his feelings and just kind of started talking just all kind of crazy. But like I said, you had a lot of people on Twitter.
Yeah, white supremacists and all this nonsense. And see, you trying to sit there and further this wasn't nothing but dope. And then that fool went and he had one I thought was really interesting. Yeah, it was, you know, I was just hanging with my nephew and some folk, and they were just smoking some reefer. See, they were looking at going to jail, but, you know, it's just some high school students smoking reefer. Mm-hmm. My response was you need to get your behind in those books so you can get some life and stop bitching about what's going wrong in yours.
Exactly.
You know, it's free right now from kindergarten through 12th grade. You get that part together, the rest of your life is home free.
Right. But for some reason,
if you don't, then you got problems.
Right. For some reason, the young generation today do not understand that. For some reason, they think the culture of music and what they talk about in a lot of these rap songs, that's the way to live your life, and they are dead wrong. And that's why a lot of them is being victim to these streets now, you know, and you can't talk to one of them because they get smart at the mouth, and then you try to talk to their parents about how they acting, you know, then the parents get smart at the mouth with you. Just something that I just don't understand, man.
Well, see, we start off somewhere in the 70s where we've got single parent head of household situations where the parent is incompetent. They don't know how to deal with raising the children that they have. A lot of them having kids in a high number to get a bigger check. Mm-hmm. And the kids get grown, have babies, and don't know how to raise them and don't know what the foundation is, and they're ill prepared for life. So they started selling entertainments that appealed to glorification of dysfunction.
Mm-hmm. And
and that ranged from daytime TV with Oprah into soap operas. You know, oh girl, I gotta go see what Erica's up to. So you're rushing home to find out what this filthy, obscene sleaze is up to that leaves mucus every time she moves.
Absolutely.
But then, you know, if it isn't that kind of nonsense, Maury Povich and what was the other one that had that kind of crazy "You're Not the Daddy" thing on and all that?
Moore was the only one I know they did that, unless you talk about Steve Wilkos.
Well, there was another one besides Maury Povich. I can't remember his name. Anyway, that was the kind of filth we had, see? And, you know, when the songs we're talking about, look at the music. 1958, 59, you got a job, shout it out, shout it out. Better get in, bring in the dog, let out the cat, tell your hoodlum friends outside you ain't got time to take a ride, you know. Talking about better make an ugly woman your wife, you know, if you want to be happy for the rest of your life. And people talking about love and work and, you know, reality. And now all they talk about is being hoes and, you know, and all kinds of crazy nonsense and removing grams and all sorts of dysfunction. Mm-hmm. People are making money off of it, selling it overseas to people who don't even understand what's being said.
Absolutely.
But they do techno dancing and like to bounce up and down, so they got it down for that. They can have a good time at a function, and the music's loud, so they don't have to talk and carry on a conversation, and they don't want it changed. So, la-di-da, whoop-de-doo, we've got our entertainments, for the most part, is stagnated over the last 40-some years. And then you got this thing here, too, so the rap artists are part of that little thing that the media is doing to try and convert everybody to another way of looking at life, that fluid gender nonsense, and you get the rap artists look like they're sucking on something else when they're up there with the microphone. That's their business, but they're glorifying it.
Right. All right, and it's ridiculous. That's why I say now to this day, thank God I don't have any children to succumb to this mess that's going on in this era today, especially with this music culture. Like I said, I'm like you. I don't understand what a lot of this stuff be saying, but these kids know these rap lyrics faster than they book studies. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, a good friend of mine has a beautiful daughter in her early 20s who's got a career as a model.
Mm-hmm.
And she asked me to accompany her to an event that Anheuser-Busch was putting on. It was on 90210 Beverly Hills address, big downstairs club, right in the middle of everything in Beverly Hills, okay? Mm-hmm. We go there, and we're standing around with a few other parents, and what we're looking at is the girls that are straight girls are over here on one side dancing with each other. The gay girls are kissing on each other and dancing on another corner of the place.
Mm-hmm.
The gay boys are over here dancing with each other, and the straight boys are walking around with the shoulders all hunched over, looking straight ahead. And the straight girls are half naked with everything hanging out, and they aren't paying a bit of attention. And then the girls that are straight are running their fingers through each other's hair. And one lady said, "Are you girls lesbian?" "No, we're just trying to meet each other." That's how you come up and say you want to meet somebody?
Exactly.
So, girls dancing with girls, the gay boys dancing with each other, the gay girls dancing with each other, the straight boys walking around, won't even talk to the girls. I asked one of them, so, "Man, why aren't you speaking to the girls?" "Man, no, man, hey, that ain't nothing but a setup, man. Hey, they're just trying to run game on you, So, I give one of them my number. She can call me. Man, wow. But you see, that's how far it's gone. In the popular song, they had two bands and 3 DJs that were alternating. And the popular song, they kept playing over and over. If I can remember the gist of it, the guy's bragging he got 5 hoes, and all of them go down on each other, and he don't date no babe that don't go down,
Yeah.
All my hoes, they do, they eat. Anyway, it was like, and the girls are dancing to this.
Right.
Like, what is wrong with this picture?
It gets glorified.
And nobody had a smile on their face, which was interesting.
They glorify it, man, and that's part of intimacy now with a lot of these people, these doggone crazy rap lyrics, and like you said, with the women groping and griping on each other, and somebody asking that question, you get offended, said, no, we're not like that, but wait a minute, this is what you're showing us, this is what you're showing society, so why would you get upset that I asked you, are you a lesbian? Because that show what the hell y'all doing. I mean, what straight person would do that?
Well, another woman here in Memphis got up, well, not in Memphis, she was elsewhere in the country. We were talking on the phone long distance, on the phone. I keep thinking that way from back when I was more youthful. It's not long distance now, but she was saying she was real upset with her 13-year-old daughter because she was looking at her and says, "Girl," I looked at her and she was about to start, she's going through puberty.
Mm-hmm.
So she said, I looked at her and said, "Honey, why haven't you combed your hair, and washed your face and everything?" And she said, "Why should I do that?" She said, "Well, so you can look like a young lady." And she said, "Mother, that's just gender stereotyping."
Wow.
She said, "What?" So,
Wow.
well, you just aren't into it. Gender is fluid. If I want to look all dirty like some boy, I can do that. And she said, well, wait just a minute. She said, first thing I did, and this was like, I had this conversation 2 days ago. She said, I can hardly wait till Monday morning till I can call and make an appointment to go see somebody about what they must be teaching her.
Right. Right. Golly. And you see how you explain it, how a lot of these kids are being so disrespectful to the parents, and the parents are allowing them to do this.
Well, see, there's another thing, too. Historically, we have this situation where kids used to challenge what went on in the home. They would accept most of it, but they would challenge some of it as they got older because they say there's got to be a way to do better than dad did or mom did. And they listen to authority figures outside of the home, and when the authority figures reinforce what they got in the home, they say, oh, well, I guess I didn't get misled. John Wayne said that, or, this Shakespearean character said this, or Mark Twain's character said this, or Woody Strode said this, so, okay, I can go do what I did. Now, what has happened, see, is they still are human youth, and they still have those tendencies. And what happens, though, is when they hear the media is trying to tear down and destroy the home place. And that's really crazy because a fundamental problem is that for human society, the economic primary unit is the family. The family feeds itself. It's the one that acquires the wherewithal to do the feeding. It organizes the food chain going down to the individual. It's the one that is the source of supply and demand. The source of demand so that the demand can be supplied. The family is basically the primary political unit in human society because on an extended basis, it manages a lot of people in a primitive situation, and governments are nothing but extended families. But you're destroying that too. You destroyed the thing about the economic unit. And then it comes up as it's the primary device to socialize and acculturate young humans so they become functional adult humans. But you're overriding that and trying to destroy the institution so the youth don't get properly acculturated and socialized. So what happens is we've got an economy that's fouled up because you've destroyed the ability of the average family to really participate in it. I remember one time I worked with a D.C. think tank back in 1972, and we were looking at stats, and this is common knowledge. The highest paid, the highest paid CEO in the automotive industry, Chrysler at that time, Iacocca, was only making 4.5 times more than the highest paid lineman. And there wasn't so much a discrepancy in buying power between representatives of families in America, black or white or whatever, Mexican or whatever you may be looking at, and those at the top. We got the Reagan administration in. They drove a wedge between everything, and now what's happening is the top, basically 3% of the country's population controls 95% of the wealth, and that 95% of the wealth goes to the use of only 5% of the population, with the rest of the 95%, everybody else splitting just 5%. So there's a huge discrepancy, and it's a glorification of Reaganomics, supplied side, voodoo economics, where you make it and they'll buy it, because the families can't afford to spend anything now because their real buying power is continuously dropping. So you have no markets, but then you make, and you have a situation where the financing is backed up by the U.S. government. And what happens is that's the thing with Goldman Sachs. They don't have to have any cash to back up their accounts. So we get $781 billion economic incentive plans or $700 billion bailout deals. Now, to give you some idea of what that amounts to, the highest Defense Department budget, while Vietnam was going on, was a $42 billion budget. Now compare that to $700 billion and $781 billion. Those are the two largest expenses in the entire history of the country. Now they talk about you can't have socialized medicine where the government pays for the medical care. You can't have any subsidy on getting people into a situation where everybody can work, because of course you can't do that, but you can turn around and subsidize the income for the 5%. See, that's what it amounts to, and you're destroying the family. You get it from the media, you get it from the economy, and you certainly don't like the results of it, which is what really is behind the need for reform in the criminal justice. And that reform is essentially that the criminal justice system is morphed from a crime control device into a device to control surplus labor. And since we historically were last hired, first fired, we get to be first in jail. Mm-hmm. And then they've got another thing too that they're doing, which is really insidious, because that concerns me personally. Law and the courts have always been avenues where people got redress for wrong being done as a class. Nowadays, cut that out. The thing to do is, when there is a judge who is a fair judge, you jack him up by continuously throwing complaints at him through the ethics committees, which the public can't hear about, but you jack him up. They had a black judge up here in Pennsylvania who called the DA out for being an outright racist, 5 trials in a row, excluding all of the black jurors, and they suspended the judge for months without pay. Okay, you got a situation where you got some hotshot black lawyer or white lawyer who doesn't mind doing something, and they get complaints filed against them on the bar level, and it's non-public, but they got to spend hours trying to answer some cockamamie complaint. And I'm running into that myself. I'm not immune to it. My law license is in basically medically inactive status, because I am diabetic. But I'm just thinking about surrendering the whole damn thing and say, go to hell. You know, I got First Amendment problems with the way you're trying to tamp stuff down, because even now you get people trying to call in to complain about, you talked about this judge or you talked about this elected official.
Right.
So I'm just saying, at my stage in life, I'm just going to write them a nice letter. Here, I'm surrendering the law license. Now go on about your business. Some people got what they thought they wanted. Now see what you get out of it. I can really talk about you. And all those judges downtown that shouldn't be on the bench that I know, I'm going to start naming names. You know, all the foulness I know in court, the bribes are in one direct way, but so large as they are, in another more indirect way, I'm going to expose those. So I can do that, but the average young lawyer do something that he can't afford to do that, because you take away his livelihood.
Right, right.
And he doesn't have the nerve. But see, and then people talk about, oh my God, Trump this, Trump that. I said, you ought to be so glad he's in office so you can see this. You were arguing with me just 3 or 4 years ago that everything's all right. Judge, why you said they're still upset? Because it's not all right. Yes, it is. You're just the old dinosaur. Now, see what Trump's doing? He's ruining everything. Trump is there's coming out that was hidden. You just didn't know how to look for it. Now it's out there for you to see.
Mm-hmm. Somebody have
we need that.
Somebody have a question for you in the chat room. And people, the lines is open now. If you want to talk to him, ask some questions, you know, he can't give you legal advice, but he can talk about the law. So don't be ashamed. The phone line is open if you want to call and ask some questions. You can call and ask some questions, but be mindful. He cannot give legal advice, but he can speak on the law or what you're asking. But somebody asked in the chat room, you know, what's your thoughts on the Kavanaugh saga, if I said that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody asked, what's your thoughts on that?
In what respect? Kavanaugh as a person or all of this hashtag Me Too stuff?
Whoever
what
asked,
are you?
Yeah, whoever asked, yeah.
Well, you got to expect somebody conservative is going to be nominated. I don't have too much of a problem with his view on individual rights as it comes to criminal law. They aren't that bad.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like abortion, he's not going to tell you anyway, one way or the other. So it's going to be a surprise when whoever they get in there. Constitutional rights and stuff like that for the individuals in terms of voting and things like that, we're in trouble anyway.
Yeah.
And our problem is not Kavanaugh. Our problem is that dear little Barry / Barack Obama used the opportunities he had at the very beginning of the administration to pick 2 white lesbians. So I guess they need representation, but we got left out of the equation.
Mm.
So the problem is that we had our chance. We had our little love affair with our chick flick matinee star and got nothing out of it. So Kavanaugh, in terms of will he be okay as a Supreme Court justice, I can think of some that are on there now. I think he'll be better than they are. And our main problem is the longest serving judge on there now and the most conservative is Uncle Clarence Thomas. Okay. And he hates us because himself. That's our worst problem. Thurgood Marshall said that when he retired. He said, I know who my replacement is. I'm not going to say anything about it. But let me just say this. A black snake will bite you just as quick as a white one.
Mm.
So that's the reality of what's on there. And the last guy, I hold at fault for not doing something to offset that when he had the chance. And then even his last nomination was a conservative white Republican who actually, the last person Obama nominated for the Supreme Court is 3 or 4 times worse than Kavanaugh when it comes to being conservative. And as far as this woman's concerned, come on now. Back when they were coming up, wrestling matches in the back seat of cars and in daddy's and mommy's bedroom when they were on a trip or away from home, that was common. She didn't get raped. And you took 38 years to come forward on it, I don't buy it.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people are saying.
It's been knowing 6 months, I don't buy it. And she's an activist in the Democratic Party. It's just an opportunity to get gridlock again, so nothing gets done.
Mm-hmm.
And then what would happen if the Democrats won? They'd be more worried about who got to piss in the girls' bathroom than cleaning up the neighborhoods or doing something about education and employment.
You're right. So I hope
we aren't getting anything from either one of these bunch of bozos. And actually, the agenda is Goldman Sachs for both of them, high finance for both of them, and gay rights for both of them, and big energy for both of them, and everything else goes to hell. And the rank-and-file Republicans are at the throats of the rank-and-file Democrats, and everybody's fussing over stuff that nobody gives a damn about who's in office other than to agitate the peons.
All right, so...
And that's not just from a black perspective. That's just universal. The middle class is a forgotten entity for everybody that's in power these days. They give lip service to it, but they don't do anything for it.
All right. So to the person who asked that question, I hope that answered your question. They were talking about more so the Me Too movement side of it, so I believe you kind of touched on that. We got another person.
Oh, that Me Too thing? Oh.
Yeah.
You know what's wrong with the Me Too thing?
Go ahead.
Is it's advocating mob rule in a courtroom. And they have a saying, "Me Too will make a difference the way things are done in courts." It should, because you don't want it to, because as people, black people have been victimized the entire time they've been outside of slavery by biased courtrooms where mob rule controls what happens inside. You don't want it at all, whoever it may apply to. Remember, justice is supposed to be blind, deaf, and dumb.
Right.
The only thing she can do is feel Braille, so she can't hear the voice, she can't see the individual, and she can't hear the tone.
All right. Now we got another person. They were saying something. They want to know your thoughts about black book law.
Black what law?
Black book law.
I didn't get the last part. You were breaking up for me.
They want to know what's your thoughts about black book law.
Black book law.
That's what they got in the chat room. Yeah, black book law. Then it said they would be interested in knowing more from you about admiralty law and maritime law. I'm not understanding.
Yeah, maritime law is a specialty. It's always been. They call that admiralty law.
Mm.
Black book law, that I assume somebody's talking about what is in law books. Well, the basic rule as laid down by the very first Supreme Court case in American history, way back in the late 1700s, was all law in America is judge-made law. That's called common law.
Mm.
When a legislative body passes an act superseding judge-made law, then that becomes the law unless it's unconstitutional. Judge-made law, the common law, is that body of law based on tradition, precedent, and the evolving conditions of society. Now, your typical conservative will turn purple about that, but he doesn't realize it's in writing. And when you show it to him in a law book, he's dumbfounded because he's like, I never knew that. Well, that's what ignorance will do for you. You'll get very blindingly passionate about the wrong kind of thing because you're acting in ignorance.
Right.
But all law is judge-made law until superseded by statutory rule, regulation, or law. So when there is a statutory law, yeah, we should know what it is, because I don't understand it. You'll pay all this attention to baseball, basketball, football, know all the rules and all of the statistics, and you won't spend literally 10 minutes or less reading the U.S. Constitution to find out what the rules of the game are when you walk outside the house.
Yes. Absolutely.
It doesn't make sense to me.
Absolutely agree. I absolutely agree with you on
and
that.
Literally, the thing doesn't take but 10 minutes to read for somebody with a high school education. So just think about it. You ask, a lot of people ask questions like, read the Constitution, but I can't get it. All it takes 10 minutes. And most of it doesn't even apply anymore because it was just administrative to set up the government, and it went out of effect in 1808. There are amendments, but we're just talking about the core Constitution.
All right.
What did they mean when they talked about Birthgate and somebody was saying Obama shouldn't be president? He is an American citizen. Nobody said he wasn't. The Constitution establishes that if, for example, your mother is an American citizen, it doesn't make any difference where in the world you were born. But in another part of the Constitution, there's some specific rules on who's eligible for president. Those rules say if you're not born inside the continental United States in a territory or state or protectorate, or you're born in a federal enclave, such as an embassy or a consulate or a military or a naval base, you aren't eligible to run for president, even if you are a citizen. Look at Cruz for the Republicans. I didn't hear any of this in the media. He's clearly not eligible because, as he says, he's born in Canada. He can't make it. And by the way, this whole thing about popular vote versus Electoral College, you've never been able to vote for president in the United States. You vote for a slate of electors who campaign to be elected. What has happened in the last 60 years, they campaigned on the basis of, I pledge to support this person for president. But in the South, for example, at the end of the 60s, they had a lot of situations where they had three slates of electors. They had the Democratic slate, the Republican slate, and the Independent slate. The Independent slate was non-pledged and said, we will vote for president for somebody that's not going to let these niggers come in here and integrate. So when you say you're voting for President so-and-so, what it really says, even on the ballot you're voting for, is a slate of electors pledged to support this person. But they don't have to. So all you're doing is voting for a group of people, the number of whom you get to vote for depends on the size of your state. So they are indicating that as part of their campaign to be elected an elector is they will support this, that, and the other candidate. So, for example, it varies. Every state has two senators. Wyoming, for example, has the whole state has a population less than Memphis. So what happens? Wyoming only has one congressman but two senators. So just like the senators and the congressmen are determined by census, the number of electors they have is determined by census. So why do you just vote for electors where the Constitution tells you? The electors are supposed to see if this person is in fact qualified that is running for office. For example, was he born in the correct place or was he born outside of the country? In the wrong place, and he's a citizen, but he can't run for president. Do we have somebody who's got a history of being a long-term foreign agent? He shouldn't be in because we don't want sleeper agents running the government.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the only things that a citizen, full-fledged citizen, could vote for in the United States was congressman and elector. In 1913, thereabouts, they passed an amendment so you can vote for U.S. senator, too. Senators used to be selected by state legislatures, not voters.
All right.
And that's by design, so you don't get ignorant people controlling who gets in office. So when you say, would she run the popular vote, that don't count. And why doesn't it count? Because let's say, taking his side, if you are a Trump supporter and your polls have closed and California stay open till 8 o'clock, most other ones close at 7, and they're 3 hours behind the East Coast, why go out and vote for Trump, for example, when you know that California is overwhelmingly going to go for Hillary, but it's not going to pick up any extra Electoral College votes? So you stay home, so the popular vote is skewed. That's just because what happens is typically the person who gets the Electoral College wins from the East Coast and the central portion of the country. So the people that otherwise might have come out and voted for him on the West Coast just don't bother. They stay home. But the Electoral College is what counts. So it ain't nothing new. As many times in American history as not, the Electoral College has not reflected the popular vote. That's what it was designed to do. And by the way, the Democratic Party doesn't want to deal with the fact that, but for this superdelegate thing, actually going back over the primary results, it looks like Bernie won most of the states. But the way they had it set up with the superdelegate bit, and depending upon how they established that in the local state, he didn't have a chance. Even though he won the popular vote in all and most of these states during the primary, Hillary wound up getting the primary vote. Well, not the primary, but she wound up getting the delegates. So, you know, they were upset that shenanigans were pulled, and hell, the person they were upset about losing was pulling the same kind of thing. And then that whole thing, you know, there's a dodge for the public. Did the Russians have anything to do with how you voted?
Oh, sorry about that. Repeat that again, sir. Sorry again.
I said, did the Russians have anything to do with the way you voted personally?
Not on me, no. Not me, no.
Me either. Do you know anybody who says the Russians influenced how I voted?
No, sir. No, sir.
And what the hell are they wasting all this time and money on worrying about the Russians trying to influence the election? They've been doing that since 1945, and we've been doing it back.
All right.
That's the way the world works.
Okay. Okay, this is the last question I'm going to ask in the chat room. I told y'all the lines are open. If you want to ask a question, then you can call in. And now I'm not going to read any more questions, but somebody just piqued my interest in this question right here. They said they wanted to know, if you are completely off paper, do you get your rights back to vote? Please. They want to know, if you're off papers, do you get your rights back to vote?
It depends on the state you live in. There are various and sundry ways to get your vote. There are some states that have ways of getting your voting rights restored upon criminal conviction. Generally, there used to be the following crimes: murder, robbery, burglary, larceny, which is basically theft, perjury, and treason would have you declared infamous and you could no longer vote. Other criminal offenses would not keep you from voting. In the 1970s and early 1980s, they were having high voting turnouts in the penitentiaries where the inmates were getting absentee ballots. So they decided to cut that out, and they made all felonies something that rendered you infamous. So some states allow you to file a petition in a civil court with appropriate witnesses and be declared rehabilitated, and you get your voting rights and your citizenship rights back. Some will allow partial restoration, some won't. Some even have, like Tennessee has a form you can go get and fill out. You have your probation officer or the court clerk fill in the details, and you pay your fee, and you're supposed to have your voting rights restored, if nothing else. But some judges refuse to go along with it and bunch all of them up so that a huge amount of court costs are assessed, and then they dismiss them, and the person can't afford to appeal. So it depends on where you are, but basically it's a political issue.
All right.
And there are consequences for acting wrong.
What are some of those consequences?
You get your voting rights taken away, and some of your citizenship rights are stripped. You do not have full enjoyment of those things that ordinary citizens have under the Constitution.
All right. To the person who asked that question, I hope they answer your questions. If anybody else got a question, either you call in or don't ask the question. That's what I got the phone line open to, ask them the question, so...
I'm not giving my opinion on this. I'm just telling you basically what the law is if you cut through all the technical flack.
Yeah. Right. So, well, appreciate everybody who asked the question. He gave me insight on a lot of stuff that I didn't know either, so I appreciate that. But other than that, though, you got something else with that, please do call in. And no problem. Question, no, you good. I was reading the through of them before you got here, so you did nothing wrong. You did nothing wrong at all. Judge O'Brien, I want your thoughts on this, and this story been going viral, and a lot of people has been talking about it lately, even me. This story about this cop, Amber Geiger, who claims she mistaken her apartment for somebody else's and shot this man dead. What are your thoughts on that?
In the apartment?
Yeah, she went into the wrong apartment, so she claimed. Now, here's the funny thing about it. She stayed afloat under him, but somehow she ended up on the wrong floor, ended up going to the wrong apartment, and shot this man, and he's dead. The story sounds bogus to me. So I don't know if you heard anything about that or not.
Well, look, what I got to say about that is let justice take its course. Let the powers that be know that you're watching and that you do have a vote if you live in Dallas, Texas, on whether they are retained as DA, sheriff, or mayor who appoints the chief of police or the judge who hears the matter. Leave it at that, because again, you don't want mob justice. Now, see, I listen to all this kind of nonsense, and I say they don't even get it. See, if I was going to speculate, I'd say maybe she was mistaken. Why would I say that? Because it happens a lot of the time in America. I can guarantee you there are 15 or 20 instances of that happened the same week this happened, and every week. But what usually happens is instead of the intruder shooting the person inside, the person inside shoots the intruder. Mm-hmm. It may be the drunk neighbor who was confused about where he was going, or most tragically, it may be the kid coming back from college with a key to the house, didn't tell mom and dad's going to surprise them, stopped in at a frat party, got drunk, and gets shot to death when he enters the home place, which is a tragedy. There are things like, okay, you hear the side talk about somebody pounding on the door. Well, maybe what happened was there was a lover that was expected to be in the apartment, and when they got in, instead of the lover being there, there was somebody else there. Use your imagination. Maybe she was a lesbian, and when she walked in, she sees this dude with just his drawers on. Oh my God. And she shoots him dead out of anger. Or maybe it was a boyfriend, but she sees a dude with his drawers on. Is he turned gay on me? You know, so she shoots it, which ramps it up to murder. But you see, be careful what you ask for. As long as it's manslaughter and it's negligence involved in setting up the manslaughter, then guess what? The police department is still in it in terms of liability for damages, and so is the city of Dallas, which means guilty verdict or not, that doesn't do anything for the family in terms of getting compensation. But if it's on the basis of negligence that the guilt is found, then guess what? You got a good claim going forward, just like you got with O.J. and getting the judgment against the lady cop and the police department and the city of Dallas. If it's murder because of some other things, and there's a high possibility that the city of Dallas gets out of it because her intervening criminal intent takes them out of the picture. They had nothing to do with it. It wasn't a training issue. It was malice. Same thing with some other stuff. That takes the police department out. So you just get one broke woman cop. You see, people don't even. Have you heard anybody talk about that?
No, you know.
Other thing happened with Rodney. A situation where everybody in L.A. wanted those cops jacked up. So what happens? They got a change of venue motion that was successful. They got taken out to a place called Simi Valley, where a high percentage of the residents out there are retired police. So all the cops got acquitted, and they had an L.A. riot. See, we want to make sure that the authorities know that the community is serious about demanding justice, but we don't want mob rule when it comes to what actually happens in the courtroom proceeding. That's bad. Nor do the citizens, I think, of that want to give the defendant an excuse to have her case transferred out of the jurisdiction for trial. You know, I think you can visualize some of the areas in Texas where somebody white shooting somebody black might want to be tried more so than Dallas. See, these are considerations you have to keep in mind. Yeah, all of the black men that got lynched and got no fair trial, you know, hey, do you want to continue that just a little bit on the other side, or do you want it straightened out and done right? Okay. So what did happen? Now, I'll say this. They referred it to the Texas Rangers, which is what they should do, so there's no appearance of the conflict of interest. They'll probably bring in a special prosecutor which is another thing showing they're trying to play it straight up. And they won't try to, well, the defense will try to be excluding blacks from the jury for a change instead of the other way around. And we'll see what happens as to whether or not there's a fair trial. So what may have happened in there may not be as obvious to somebody on the inside as it is to the good citizens who are jumping up and down talking about they want a lynch mob. They may have witnesses to interview to see if there was a boyfriend or girlfriend. But just coming in and mistaking something, red matter, anything, happens all the time. I tried quite a few defendants who were in that same situation, either the one that broke in or the one that was in there and shot somebody.
Mm-hmm.
See, and then the other thing is, I might say, you know, the brother should have had his armament and shot the intruder. Under Texas law, he could have gotten away for it, with it, you know, even if she was a cop. But he didn't. So what are you dealing with? We don't know yet. So there are a lot of witnesses to be talked to. So that's what happened with OJ, and white folks are upset about it. But Johnny Cochran called it was a rush to judgment. Mm-hmm. And when all of the evidence was looked at, the jury said it didn't point to OJ, it pointed to somebody else, which it did. The problem was simply that you had Nancy Grace out there with her sleazy self telling the public that it was overwhelmingly against OJ when it wasn't. But nobody realizes that. Most people don't trust Nancy Grace as anything other than trying to drum up some drama.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's interesting is four of the chief detectives on the OJ case, guess what? They wound up getting prosecuted for falsifying evidence in the Rampart scandal. They had to let 128 people out of the penitentiary who were wrongfully convicted on planted evidence. But the media hasn't said a thing about that.
All right.
So it is what it is.
Okay. Even Ted Cruz, he said that, because I did a podcast about that the other day. He was saying, we got to start rushing the judgment when it comes to costs. And I said, I agree with that about rushing the judgment. But the evidence that's right now that they present, it just sort of sound obscure. It just sounds just crazy. It just sound, I don't know, sound just too fishy, like it was planned or something. I don't know, but the DA, I forget what her name is, but she's black, and she says she's going to work to get down to the bottom of it. So we just got to see how it plays out. But Ted Cruz pretty much said some of the same thing that you just said a few minutes ago about it.
But see, he's saying it from a different angle. See, that's what people don't understand about the courts. It's not the courts. It's not the rules. It's not the law. It's the people that apply it. And if we don't go vote, we don't pay attention to who's running for DA or who's running for judge, and we give our votes away because we saw the name on a sample ballot with pictures on it that some scoundrel's putting out because he got paid to put it out. We aren't doing ourselves justice. If we are always trying to figure out a way to get off a jury service, we aren't doing ourselves justice. And it winds up just us because we exclude ourselves. And we're running around talking about we're justified to smoke plenty of dope when we're in high school instead of putting those in books. That means you're not generating the next group of up-and-coming criminal lawyers or even civil lawyers who might give somebody a defense in or a representation in court. See, and then you talk about the courts for 100 years, the only redress we got was through the courts, which could have also jacked us up too.
Yeah.
That separate but equal was through the courts, which was bad for us, but Brown v. Board of Education turned it around the other way.
Man, all right. All
See,
right.
the average person can tell you more about the soap opera, about the Kardashians, about the housewives,
Yes.
NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, NFL, than they can about the people that control their lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're absolutely right about that one. Yeah, absolutely right about them. Which brings me to this, what I want to ask you. I saw an old clip of you. Somebody posted it somewhere. It was an old clip of you handling the case. I want to know if you remember it. It's a guy, I guess he playing like he a goon, or he talking like he a goon or something. And his mom was there about him. But kind of found out his mom was a parole officer. And this guy was having constant history of being in vehicle accidents in rental cars. And I was just listening to how this fool was talking. And not only he was being disrespectful to you, but he was being disrespectful to his mom. And his mom was just sitting up there with her head just looking down to the floor. I like, this is how you act? You a parole officer? Really? And she literally acted like she was scared of her own son. I wonder if you remember that case.
Yeah, a lot of times what was happening is people were getting in there asking to be heard so I could say something to their child.
Mm-hmm.
See, they had said something and was going nowhere. They wanted me to play Papa Brown or Granddaddy Brown or Uncle Brown or Uncle Joe and tell the person what they needed to hear. Not wanted to hear, but needed to hear.
Yes.
So I get feedback from that. The weirdest places, airports. People will walk up to me. I was on your show, or I had my son on your show. I want to thank you because you told him exactly what I'd been telling him, or you told my daughter what I'd been telling her. They needed to hear that. See, that's what I said earlier in the show tonight. There is this need for outside reinforcement for what's being said in the home place
Mm-hmm.
to tone down the challenge. And we don't have it because what they hear outside is glorifying what typically their parent is trying to get them not to do or has no idea that they are doing. Look at it. House party. In the 70s, early 80s, there was this thing, house party. This guy trashes the house, wrecks his parents' Porsche, everything else, and that's supposed to be cool. That's not cool. You know, you get stuff like that. The gangster is the hero, and the gangster kills a lot of folks, sells a lot of dope, and he's smoking a big fat cigar at the end of the movie because he is now economically independent. That's not something you should glorify.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And even if the stars do have a husband, they want to say that she had the child with, like it's inferring she was a single parent. Or like, how many people love Beyonce? Great singer, right? Fine, sexy.
Yeah.
How many people sit there and know that her daddy has a PhD? You know, you don't hear that, do you?
Nobody talks about that. Nope. They just talk about her and her music and her style. Nobody talks about that at all.
It's Dr. Knowles. That's her daddy. Brilliant man. Writes books. And you'll notice Beyonce doesn't cross certain lines.
Yeah.
Also, he managed Destiny's Child. And OK, which was the group when Beyonce wasn't but 2 years old. And he got a PhD and a tenured professor. But they don't want you to know that. So you talk about Snoop Dogg, but do you get the fact that his mama's got a master's degree?
Mm-hmm.
You know that?
No, I didn't know that either. See, that's new to me. I didn't know nothing about all that. Nothing.
They want to build street cred, so they emphasize the stupid. Snoop Dogg said some profound stuff. They had a reality show on him back in the early 90s. He was staying at home, he and his brother and the wife and the children. And one, for instance, he wanted to go get trained on how to train dogs because the kids wouldn't take care of the pets. He got them to teach them responsibility. And his wife was saying it's his fault. They don't need all that responsibility. So he figured it out and went and got lessons, and they taught him, if you're going to teach, you have to teach yourself. And one of the things that you do when you get the dogs properly trained is you take that load of responsibility for making choices off of their shoulders that they shouldn't have to make. You are the alpha male in the household, not them. So it's the same thing with children. Say, honey, the dogs are acting so fine. I'm glad you asked. He said, what did you do, honey, to get these dogs acting so good? He said, I trained them, and I decided to be in charge. That's what's wrong with these kids. We let them run around acting like they're in charge instead of us.
Exactly. And that's why I brought that up to you about that case. You know, this big grown...
He's got good sense, but they want to play it like he's got street cred, he's a gangster, he's a thug.
Yeah, because that guy right there I was at you about, I looked at him, and he swore up and down.
Joining the online studio.
He swore up and down, he was a thug.
You are unmuted and can speak with the host.
And I was listening to you when you was talking to him, and it was like, you know, you actually was trying to be a little lenient with him, try to help him, and all he really had to do was just shut his damn mouth. That's all he had to do was shut his mouth and listen. But he's so
presentation
hardcore,
mode on.
He won't let the world
Only
know,
moderators
that
can be
he's
heard.
not a punk or a punk bitch, how a lot of it put it, that he just kept popping off at the mouth. And mama was sitting up there wasn't doing nothing. And you a parole officer. Come on now. I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Yeah, but see,
go ahead.
That's what they had me do to try to correct that, and I did it. See, now, if it hadn't been the insulation of the
presentation mode
and the
on.
cameras in the
Only
show
moderators
going on,
can be
I'd
heard.
have corrected him a little bit more directly, which I have done.
Right. Because at one point in time, you told her, hey, you know, I'll come down, you know, and do whatever, you know, and you like, come on with it. I was like, oh, man, come on, man. You doing all that tough talk because you got a camera in your face, and the damn fool end up getting held in contempt of court. I said, that's a damn shame.
Well, actually, the Supreme Court said since I was doing arbitration, I could hold somebody in contempt. The state Supreme Court at the time. So that's what that was. But, you know, you see, a lot of times what we have wrong is not white supremacy. It's not racism directly. It's our inability to properly confront it because of what we do to cut our own options down. You know, the police picking on me. Yeah, but man, why were you and your homeboys riding 4 deep, smoking ganja, man, driving around in the neighborhood you know you didn't belong in at 4 a.m. in the morning with one taillight out and the registration 3 months out? What did you think was going to happen to you?
Right.
So give yourself a chance. You know, come out of what you got on. You don't need to wear that. I ain't wearing it, man. See, y'all, no, look. You go anywhere in the world, the gangsters, the businessmen, the rich folk, and the people that run stuff, the people with power, and the people that'll kill you got on a suit. You walking around looking like you ought to be pushing a grocery cart with lawn bags in it.
Absolutely. We finally got somebody that came in. Okay, y'all make it quick. What you got to say, because I'm gonna get ready to shut this down. I don't want to keep Your Honor on the line all night. So 812, what's up? What you got for us?
This is Darcy. I was wondering what Judge Brown thought of the Cleveland judge that resigned because he chased down a woman in the hallway who was disruptive in the courtroom.
Could you hear her, Your Honor? Because she was kind of going in and out. Could you hear her?
Yeah, I heard of what was me or that kid doing disruptive.
She was disruptive, and she left the courtroom, and he chased her down the hallway and brought her back in, and he had to resign because of it.
I repeat what she's saying. I can't hear it too well.
I didn't catch it either. Darcy, can you get somewhere where you can speak a little louder because your phone going in and out? Are you on a headset or something?
No, I'm on speaker. Should I take it off speaker?
Yeah, you might want to take it off speaker because you going in and out.
I was wondering what Judge Brown thought of the Cleveland judge that had to resign because he chased a female that was disruptive in the courtroom down the hallway.
I'm not really familiar with that. You're saying some police woman had to resign for chasing an unruly woman down the hallway?
No, a judge.
She said a judge. She said a judge. A judge had to do that.
Did a judge do that?
Yes, the judge chased the woman down the hallway after she was disruptive and left the courtroom.
Let me tell you something I witnessed. Well, let me just say this. What goes on in the courts is not quite as orderly at times as you think it is. I actually saw this. There was a really disgusting, obnoxious soul that had been an attorney that represented the city of Memphis, and he was arguing something on a motion docket with the judge, and he really set the judge off. The judge picked up 5 or 6 of these law books, volumes, big, thick volumes, and threw them at him, and picked up the whole pile of court jackets that he had, chased him out of the courtroom, throwing them at him, down the hallway, downstairs, and out the door of the courtroom, and down 2 blocks until he ran out of ammunition to throw at him. Nothing happened. You ever see Justice for All, that scene where the guy's gone crazy and he's throwing plates out in the hallway at the courthouse? That happens. It's a lot of pressure down there. So the judge might have resigned.
Thank you for your...
Probably. That's very off in terms of behavior. But sometimes, people just lose it.
Anything else?
Bottom line is they're still human.
Anything else you want to ask him, Darcy?
No, thank you. Great show, Chris. Thank you, Judge Brown.
Hey, thank you.
You're quite welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Anybody else who called in, y'all call back in, make it quick. I said we're not going to be up all night doing this, so if you want to call back in, I don't know what happened, but when I redid it, a lot of y'all phone numbers started showing up, so I don't know what happened. So whoever that was on the line earlier, if you want to call back in and ask them a question, here's your time now. Make it quick, and we're going to get ready to get on out of here. And thanks to everybody who showed up tonight. I really do appreciate that. Great call, Darcy. And that's just that on that. But I got one more question to ask you, Brown. This would be my last question from me to you. They had a big fuss about they was doing an operations thing, and I believe it was in Chicago. And Chicago's just been all over the news lately. I don't know what the hell going on down there. It must be something in the food, must be something in the water. But every time you turn around, something's going on. But they had this operations thing where they were setting a truck full of Nike shoes, and the black people down there was complaining, saying that they was targeting black folks to get caught or whatnot with setting up this thing. Here's what I had to say about it. It may have been racial profiling, if that's what you want to call it, but at the end of the day, though, who told the black folks go in that truck and touch stuff?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I don't have any sympathy for what happened to them because, like, did anybody tell you to go to break the law?
Thank you.
You know, just because you're used to, you steal from your neighbors, you steal from your neighbor's car, you burglarize his house, you snatch anything not tied down, you can't be trusted, you snitch on them, you know, you set them up for the wrong kind of things, you commit wrongs against them, and the neighborhood is just hell. He could take them off the streets. He shouldn't have tried to steal them.
That's what I was. See, that's what I was saying. You know, but everybody talk about you know, this racial profiling, white people talking black folks. I say, you know, however you want to put it, you can look at this up, down, left, and right. If you knew it wasn't yours, you didn't buy it, you knew it was suspicious, but yet you still took your dumb ass back there and tried to steal it, and you got caught. Are you protesting about that? Come on, give me a break. Give me a break. Give me a break. And I would say I don't understand the mindset of our black community these days. You know, we always trying to make an excuse for something. Always an excuse for something. And I don't know, man. I really don't know. So I'm like you. I didn't feel sorry for him at all. I didn't feel sorry for him at all.
We mentioned it earlier. That's a product of that glorification of dysfunction. It's not okay.
Yep.
See, that is a project. They caught him, busted him dead to rights. But I would say this. We might want to go buy ourselves a pair of Nike tennis shoes to support what they're doing, supporting Kaepernick.
And that's an uproar.
Show them we got economic power.
That's an uproar. That's what that Kaepernick thing. Everybody going nuts about that, you know. So, and I'm just like you. Wow, you know, it's amazing we going nuts about this. But just like we talked earlier, I got to go back to the beginning of the show. We talk about the kids' education. You don't go nuts about that. All these PTA meetings and things that these people have so you can see if their kids are failing or whatnot. You don't attend it. But you go up there act a fool as soon as your child come home and talk about, the teacher don't like me, the teacher don't like me. How you know the teacher don't like you? Is it the teacher don't like you or you in the class, you not doing anything? Which one is it? But you go up there cuss and act a fool, but they get these programs for the parents to come out and try to tell them, hey, this is where your kid feeling at. I can help them.
Yeah, it's like, son, why do you think the teacher's got a problem with you?
Thank you.
She's trying to teach a lesson. And there are some kids that want to learn, and you clowning around trying to disrupt the lesson.
Yeah. Yeah. And then on top of that, they reward these kids for this behavior now. And the kids could be lying all damn day, and they reward them for this behavior. I got kids now that walk past me, past my house, sit there cussing up a storm, cursing better than me, as loud as all outside. Everybody can hear it. And don't name a duck come out and say, hey, you better watch your mouth.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I'm talking to somebody. I said, do you really like what goes on in our hoods, living where we live, the way we have to live, and you don't think that needs to be stopped, and you're trying to say it's okay, why is somebody upset because this is going on?
Right.
I say there are a whole lot of people you aren't talking to that want this to stop. They don't care. See, we got people that are hollering about police killing black folk, and some black folk that live where they're getting killed saying, good, kill them, because I was going to.
Right. Remember our first time you came on the show, you know, you have people who come in neighborhoods that come in the neighborhood and just make the neighborhood totally unsafe, totally uncomfortable. And you got everybody there in the neighborhood got to look over their shoulder because you had a clean, quiet neighborhood. But now you got people just coming in and you looking over your shoulder all the time. You don't want to hurt them, but they put themselves in a position for you to hurt them. Then they coming out crying, talking about, we tired. We tired. Okay, if you are tired, then do something about it. Do something about it. So like now, somebody got shot now the other day. I don't know what happened, but you got some protesters got arrested because they sitting in the middle of the street of Elvis Presley, and I guess in protest of whoever this guy got shot. I don't know what's the story behind it, you know, but he got shot. You know, so I just don't get it, Your Honor. I really don't get it. But, you know, my main focus on the young generation, you know, why we don't show this same love for the young generation like we do the thugs and the dope dealers? Why we don't show them the same love? We glorify the drug dealers. Oh. Did I lose him? Look like the phone hung up on them, guys. Well, let me see if I can get him back.
This is Joe Brown. Please leave your message.
Maybe he's trying to call me back. We'll see if he call me back. If not, man, we'll just call it a show. We'll just call it a show. Alleged Red Pill, I was trying to get to your message, but all this other stuff started coming up. So I was trying to get to your message, but let's see if I can get him back. I'm trying one more time. If not, then, you know, hey, we've been on here enough to put on a good show for y'all.
Hello.
Yeah, I don't know if that was me or
Yeah.
you.
Well, it was probably me. I had to plug the phone in to get some juice here.
Oh, okay then. Okay then. Well,
sorry about that.
Oh, no problem, no problem. Other than that, I have one more question, and I'm done. You know, and I'm done. And thank you, Yana, once again for coming back on the show. I have one more question. A supporter, they wanted to know, what is your views on the meaning of remnants?
On the what?
On the meaning of remnants.
Some kind of amendment you're talking about.
Remnants, REMNANTS, remnants. What's your view on remnants?
As in what?
As in what? The person who asked that question, as in what? Make it quick. As in what? What exactly you want his view on this? Matter of fact, I can message you now. Well, he said that. I guess all that time. Well, I guess he's saying we already kind of talked about it, or everything we talked about in the show tonight. So I guess he's okay now. Look like that's what they saying. They okay now. So if I'm reading that right, hold on. They sending me a message. Hold on.
Yeah, you know. It's basically
okay. He said basically the community is all left behind in that sense. What's your views on that?
What, our communities are left behind?
Yeah.
We leave our communities behind.
Ooh.
Because our communities are such hellholes to live in, basically, that most people, the first thing they do if they're able is to move the devil out of it.
Yes.
And if they can, they'll come back and help. But you can't live there. I tried to do that, and after I'd been burglarized the fifth or sixth time, I just said I got to go before I kill somebody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So it's kind of sort of, it can be helped, but the main problem with where we live is there are not enough men. It's a matriarchy. And manhood is about public peace, dignity, and order. Mm-hmm. Manhood is a set of behavioral standards that men real men follow. And it's got to do with keeping them men of peace who bring in economic prosperity, innovation, ethics, morality, sense of purpose, and they can be peaceful unless the time comes when they need to be brave and courageous, and they're able to do that too. We don't have that. The police keep order in the dog pen, and our place is like a dog pen. If we had enough men, the men would keep public peace, dignity, and order.
Yes.
What you see, basically, there aren't any successful men that live in the hood past a certain level. There are a few, and they try, but it's such a mess because even if you're trying, you've got a situation. I can remember a neighbor I had, he used to talk to me. He said, look, Joe, he said, I work hard. I said, I know you do. He said, my wife's okay, but she's got two sisters that just are the worst animals you've ever seen. And their boys are just like something out of the jungle. Mm-hmm. And both of them are trying to get us to take care of these four boys that are completely out of control. So I said, okay, you can bring them over here and I'll try to work with them. So I got these four extra boys around here. They're screwing up the three kids I already have by trying to get them to do stuff that is not what they ought to be doing. And then the first thing I know, they're trying to bring their posse over here, and some little thugs trying to tell me what I'm going to be doing in my house. So I had to put a shotgun on one of them, and I was going to kill one of the folks.
Your Honor, that's what I say now, David, the young generation. For some reason, they will not learn unless they in jail or unless they get something hot inside of them. They will not learn it. Even when they get something hot inside of them, they still don't learn. They still coming out like me. You talked the first time, throwing up their games, trying to impress their posse. But what I be telling these young generation is, this something y'all don't understand. When y'all go and call yourself messing with somebody, y'all gonna come as a crowd. But when shit hit the fan, everybody gonna leave somebody behind. So meaning if somebody gets shot, they're not gonna stay there and say, oh Lord, my friend got shot. Everybody gonna take off and leave that man right there on the ground. But those your friends. And you get out the hospital, you recover, and you going right back to them throwing them gang signs. Because we blood, we homies, we posse.
Yeah. It's like, you defeat yourself and you don't even realize it. I did a thing with some people. I said, here, I want you to read this book. Somebody tell me about the book. And what I was doing is what was basically a test. If they read the book and could give me a report, I was hiring them for a good job as an intern. I couldn't get anybody to read the books I gave them. Mm-hmm. They trying to hit me up on money. I said, well, it's too late now. I just said, the test was to see if you read the books that explained what was going on. And if you read them, you would know from what you read, I was going to hire you as an intern. You would have got all the money you thought you wanted. But now you failed the test as soon as you told me you wanted some money. That's the failure quotient.
Right.
But you did it to yourself. And see, I would have put you in a position where it would have helped you out on a lifetime basis. Did you take the opportunity? No, you still doing same old dysfunction.
Exactly. Get them an education. Get them an application or a book. They take off running. Get them weed, beer, and a gun. Hey, they right there, front and center. We gone. We gone, man. That is crazy. Like I was saying in one of my podcasts. For some reason, we glorify the fact that a lot of us act stupid. We glorify that, but we're afraid to let people see the smart side of us. And I think that's one of the things that destroy our community, because we scared to let people see their side of us, but we love to let the world to see the ignorant side of us. And we have seen it plenty of times on your show. That's why a lot of people have so much respect for you, because you tell it like it is. And they don't like to hear it. Just like the guy who I was telling you about, that fool in there talking all that crap. He know he was dead wrong, but he didn't want to accept what he did. But you know,
it's like, homeboy, I ain't here to listen to you talk about how you're going to talk yourself out of it. You can't tell me a tale I haven't heard already in one version or another. So I'm just laying it out for you like what it is basically and giving you the way to get away from what you're doing.
Absolutely.
You want to listen to me, that's one thing. You don't.
Absolutely. And I am one of a proud man to have watched many of your shows, as a lot of people in the chat room. You got mad respect, man. And I, for one, like to have you on the show to keep your message alive. And ladies and gentlemen, are they still showing your shows on Bounce? Are they still showing your shows?
Yeah, they're still showing it on Bounce. We're working on trying to get something else, but we're getting press back from Hollywood. That hashtag Me Too stuff doesn't want somebody like me out there because, in essence, the real deal with the people driving hashtag Me and all that bunch is they don't like men. They want to destroy manhood. And the paradox is the more they destroy manhood, the worse it gets in terms of unruly, inappropriate, overly emotional behavior on behalf of males that don't have the manhood, the more dangerous our communities get.
Absolutely.
They're trying to push another agenda on you. They've got these little beta soy boys out there, white ones, that are nerds, dorks, and dweebs, and they don't like their traditional manhood. You've got this type that thinks that men cause violence, so the way to stop violence is to change the way men are raised and raise them like girls. But actually, that promotes violence because the way men are raised is tens, hundreds of thousands of years have gone into seeing that acculturation and socialization matches our human evolution. We're the apex predator on the planet. We kill better than anything else out there.
Thank you.
And masculinity is our way of addressing that in terms of how it should be handled. So what looks back at you in the morning when you shave, brush your teeth, or comb your hair is what controls you, not the police. So they don't get it.
And
then they have that LGBTQ crowd that's been left out so long that instead of just trying to fit in, they want to destroy the whole thing so they get revenge and there's no opposition to what they have.
Agreed.
Now, they have an absolute right to do whatever in the hell they want. But some of the stuff that they want done as a lifestyle is just not good for ordinary people. So, it's like we've got a First Amendment right. They do too. They've got a right to push it, their agenda. We've got a right to push back. Like, okay, Democratic Party, I think the pushback should be, it ain't worth 3 moments of time to worry about who pisses in the bathroom. You piss where your equipment lends you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. I wouldn't apologize. You said it well.
And then, by the way, what you don't get. Let's get into. Read that order Obama signed about that bit with the Justice Department and all of that. See, it wasn't just bathrooms. It also included junior high schools, middle schools, and high schools, and that included locker rooms and shower rooms. So, in other words, under the thing as it was promulgated, you could get a boy in there showering naked with the girls in high school. Now, how's that going to work out?
Right, exactly.
And then you want to see what time it is. Little nerds and dweebs can't get over it. They want to see it. That used to be part of the little story for the movie comedies. They drill a hole in the shower wall so they could peep on the girls naked taking showers. So all of the things about kids being evil and talking about each other, can you see what happens about it being spread around? Somebody's talking about the little girls who are naked in the showers, and a lot of them are self-conscious. And same thing, or you got boys where all of a sudden there's a naked girl. She wants to come shower with the boys because she wants to be a lesbian. Hell, They had a problem on the West Coast. They hushed up. They had one of the inner city schools, and some girl kept wanting to go pee in the boys' bathroom, talking about she was a lesbian. They just locked the door and said, "You don't want your nookie, we'll take it," and they raped her, gang raped her. Well, they shouldn't have done that. It's wrong. Of course it's wrong, but it's human nature. That's like women can wear anything they want to. Men shouldn't feel they got a license to say something. No, they don't, but it's like money. You have an absolute right to have all of the American currency you want, walking around with it in your pocket. But what's going to happen if you flash a big roll of cash in the wrong place? You're going to get hijacked.
Yes.
And your money's going to get taken, and it's against the law. You walk around half naked and you're in the wrong place, somebody's going to snatch your nookie, little girl,
yes.
you know?
Yes. Yes.
Right, a matter of common sense.
Right on the money, yes. Right on the money, yes.
Nobody said it was right, but it's just a reality. Because some of your mother's friends, friend girls and sisters and aunts and grandmamas and mamas and all the collection, you aren't raising these boys too right. You're over pampering them, and they decide they want to take your nookie, they'll take it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I 100% agree with you. Your Honor, I want to ask you one more thing. And we talked about the manhood thing. I've said that a few times, so I'm sorry. We talked about the manhood thing. My final question to you before we get out of here. I know you hardcore manhood, and I'm glad you speak up for men. How do you feel about mothers claiming that they the mother and the father? How do you feel about that?
Doesn't work. Doesn't work. See, a good mother can influence a boy to get his man training. But it takes a man to train a boy. One of the most important reasons why it takes a man to train a boy is while dad or granddad or uncle or good boyfriend or stepdad is training, the kids runs up into it about, this dude can knock me out if I get out of line. Or I got out of line and he did knock me out. So there's a fear factor in there that a woman can't put in a boy once he's bigger than she is.
Mm-hmm.
See, children, human children, react most positively to the female parent until they get about 7. And then they flip over boy and girl, where they become more receptive to what the male influence is, because males ran the tribe, ran the village, and they needed to flip over to being amenable to being directed until they became grown folk. And the men would teach the boys, and the boys would want to do what the young men did, and they'd have to go through rites of passage to prove that they had the balls and the aptitude before anybody wasted any more time on them.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But they don't get it now.
Okay. Somebody wanted to ask you about, and y'all, this is going to be the last one now, because I don't want to keep them all night. This is going to be the last one. Somebody wanted me to ask you about, and the reason I'm asking this is because what they said at the end caught my attention. They want to know your thoughts on, let me find it. The Washington Initiative 1639. I guess it got something to do with the gun laws in Washington.
Washington and their gun laws. Most ridiculous thing I've ever seen is Washington, D.C. and its gun laws. They are surrounded by a southern region where guns are very easy to get.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody wants to play gangster, he can easily arm himself. So that being the case, the people who have to live there are essentially disarmed and helpless. The other thing is, it's not the NRA that's your problem. It's not gun laws that are your problem. The stuff you really don't want to run into in the wrong person's hands comes in with the drugs that can't be stopped in the war on drugs. See, when they send in a shipment of cocaine, it's very seldom published, but they send in a case or two of guns, the wrong kind. and see where the guns come from is something that is hush-hush. When we trace these things, they get found to come from South America, initially shipped to some South American government through Inter-Armco, which is used to be a federal surrogate. So you got supplied American military weapons through them, but they're coming back with the cocaine. Mm-hmm. You have a lot of the Kalashnikov design stuff coming in, smuggled back into America from Israel along with opiates. You get stuff coming in from Iraq and Afghanistan, a lot of Kalashnikov stuff being brought in with the opiates. And you get stuff from Korea, opiates and some of the other stuff, because guess what? They have their own indigenous industry called Daewoo. So they're selling all of the military hardware on the black market back into America along with opiates. Mm. And the American government can't stop the drugs in this war on drugs that's been going on for 40 years. And what's going on, I suspect, is they write it off as our allies need to raise money to fight communism or terrorism. You see, so they justify it that way and turn the blind eye to the shipment of real live AKC assault rifles. There aren't any assault rifles of any note around in America. An assault rifle is a machine gun. Now, they have stuff that is looks like it, but there's a hell of a difference between a fully automatic weapon and a semi-automatic weapon. So, you know, that's all the difference in the world.
Okay. All right.
But they, oh my God, it's a weapon. Well, go buy you one, learn how to use it. You won't be so terrified of everything. All right? Get yourself a good 12-gauge, 18-inch barrel shotgun like a Mossberg or a Remington 870. Practice with it so you can handle a recoil. Get yourself some reduced recoil buckshot, double-aught. Get yourself a military quality caliber handgun. Glocks do nicely, so do SIGs if you can afford them. Berettas, H&Ks, CZs. There's a whole Smith & Wesson. There's a whole bunch of them out there, and some of them are relatively inexpensive. 9mm, 357 SIG, 40, Smith & Wesson 45. I'd suggest 9mm. It's effective enough, and most people can handle it. And get you a carbine, an M4 clone made by one of many, many manufacturers. It's the most popular weapon in America right now. And the thing of it is, it's so cranked out crazy. Guess when they started selling them and when they patented them? How old do you think that is?
I had no idea. How old is it?
AR does not stand for assault rifle. It stands for Armalite. Armalite got a patent because the guy who designed them, Eugene Stoner, sold it to them. Guess when he came up with it? 1952. The weapon is 65 years old. It's the longest serving weapon in the history of the U.S. military when it comes to rifles. And has been spread around for 65 years. There's no way you're going to get all of them. Now, that's just modern manufacturing. It's not even the latest technology. So you're running around whipping a dead horse. When you saw a John Wayne movie, if you're in my generation, he used a Winchester Model 92. The Winchester Model 92, when John Wayne used them in the movies we saw, was a younger weapon than an AR-15 is. And in America, every single infantry rifle the U.S. Army has issued has been available to the civilian market, except some versions of the current one, which can be fired full auto, which means they're assault rifles / machine guns, which means if they were manufactured after 1986 and they weren't already in the civilian trade, you can't buy them legally. But you can get them hot coming in from South America or Korea with the dope that you can't stop. With the opiates, you can't stop.
All right, I got it.
So what you gonna do? You disarm yourself, and see, the problem isn't guns, it's lack of masculine training. You take a boy and you don't train him how to be a man, he's got a monster hiding on, inside him. That predatory beast that makes him part of the group that's the apex predator on the planet. It kills better than anything else. You don't teach him masculinity. You don't teach him the control he needs to keep that beast in check. But it doesn't go away. It just lurks in the background, and it'll jump out and surprise him and take over, and he'll shoot up the schoolyard, or he'll go do a drive-by with his punk self. See, the whole drive-by is a punk-ass thing anyway.
Right.
You mean, why don't you fight the dude toe-to-toe? You mean have a fight with? Oh, no, see, I'm too pretty. I'm a ladies' man. They give me everything I need. I can't get no scars on my face. So you just a punk. Huh? You just a punk. You did a drive-by. You copping your no-good, low-life mama, and instead of battery acid, bullets.
Right, exactly. So we can agree on that a lot of stuff does come from mothers. I agree with that.
No man does that mess. You have a fair fight. I'll beat him. Man, no, you didn't beat him. You sucker punched him. We all saw it. You didn't beat him in a fair fight. Man, we didn't see it. See, that was a punk move. You sucker punch dude. Oh, man. Well, we saw it, man. See, they don't even think that way.
Right.
And we going to drive by on dude, man. MF get out of line, man. We going to have pops and caps. Why? Fight it out. Or do you have the nerve if you don't have backup with your posse?
A lot of them, it's jellyback, man, and it's one of them situations that when they by themselves, they straight jellyback, but when they get around their posse, like you say, oh, they got backbone now. That's been going on for years. Even when I was growing up, you by yourself, you can't do nothing, but you get around your posse, and now you're all mouthed. Even then, a lot of times.
Somebody always crying for his mama and snot running out of his nose, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th grade, and then he joins the gang. And now he bold. Yeah, man, watch this down, man. I'm going to get all in. Punk. You're a punk.
Exactly. They want their mama. Mama always coming to save when they get in the same shit over and over again, just like that food that was on your show that I asked you about, because they come straight for his mama. His mama passed the fire. That's why he had like that. That's why she was so scared of him. But other than that,
See, here was what was funny about my show. One of the executives, my homeboy, I've known 50 years now. We still hang together. We used to run ladies together 50 years ago. We're very close friends. Black Belt Magazine calls him probably the most dangerous human alive in North America, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the cameraman dude was cranking out on acting a fool on. We had 6 cameramen on the floor, and 5 of them do cage fighting on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
Full contact. So it's like, and I've been taking martial arts for 50 years, so it's kind of like, okay, you want to go off in here like you going for bad? Young brother, you don't even have a clue what you putting yourself into.
Absolutely.
I'm giving a high sign to somebody who is frothing at the mouth to try out a new technique he was telling us about. I'm trying to tell him to tone it down. Don't worry about it. You ain't nothing but a mouth man.
All right. Your Honor, thank you so much, man. And probably next show, because a lot of people, when you talk about the gun thing, a lot of people was speaking on the gun, so maybe there could be another topic we could speak on whenever the next time you come on the show. And thank you again, Your Honor, for coming on the show again, man. Much blessings to you,
okay, man. On that last thing on the gun, it ain't the guns, it's the character.
Okay.
Let's stop trying to find an excuse and get back to reality. We need to raise these boys like they are supposed to be men when they grow up.
Absolutely.
Don't do that. It doesn't make any difference. They'll go find something to kill you with. So, hey. Anyway, I'm out of here. Thanks for having me on one more time.
Not a problem. I'm finna send you a couple of texts because somebody said they probably can give you a helping hand about on your project you're trying to do. So I will send you their information, and I'm going to send you a text of a question I need to ask you personally. I'll send you a text real quick before you hit the sack. And again, ladies and gentlemen, the legendary Judge Joe Brown. You can follow him on Twitter at Judge Joe Brown TV. And his shows, they playing replays of his shows on Bounce TV. And he does get revenue from there. So let's continue to support this man's message. All right? Because I, for one, want to keep his message alive. Your Honor, thank you so much again, man.
Yes, sir. Have a great evening.
You too. You too. Well, round two. Round two wasn't as silly as the first one. That's what I was looking for. I think we were some more on a serious note this time, but that's what was needed. You know, now y'all notice when y'all talked about political, y'all asking these political questions. You know, I really want to say them because I'm not very political, but it's good that y'all were asking the questions, and I apologize. I don't want y'all to think I was being a dick when I was asking y'all to call in. You know, I was like, the phone lines is open, but kind of find out a lot of y'all was having problems with calling in the line because when I went back and redid it, a lot of y'all numbers started popping up. So I apologize for that. On that aspect, I don't know what the hell happened, but next time, you know, hopefully the phone lines will be working and all of y'all will be able to call in and with your questions or whatnot. Again, thank you, Your Honor, for coming on the show. And y'all know most definitely he probably will be back again. Just got to hit him up ahead of time. But in that though, y'all, thank y'all so much for coming through, especially all the new people came through. Hey, what can I say? Y'all showed your man love tonight. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all night. And I catch y'all next time when I catch y'all. Y'all take care of yourself and each other. And your man Chris Thorns is out. Peace.